Howdy folks, Tex Grebner here with Tex Grebner Outdoors. It is a rainy, icy Saturday in January of 2015. And I go forth to eat a cheat meal. And it's going to be quite epic. However, I figured that I would bring you along with me. Now I would like, seeing as this is a brand new year, to summon my fellow warlords of the internet. I summon first the War Maiden of the North, Fate of Destiny. I summon the Warlord of the West, Hashnasi. I summon the Warlord of the Northwest, the distinguished Haas USMC. I summon the Warlord of the Southwest, Bison Hawk 1. I summon the Warlord of the South, Matt from Never Enough Ammo. I summon the Warlord of the Southeast, Lambdog 76. I summon the Warlord of the Northeast, Shall Not Be Infringed. And I would like to welcome another member to our ranks. Cutlery Lover, Jeff Smith, the new Warlord of the East. I, of course, am Tex Grebner, Warlord and Warden of the Midwest. So, we are going to have dinner with a warlord. I would also like to know, how goes it in your realm of the internet and in the lands that you survey? We're all wardens of this trust in this fantasy land. So, War Maiden and Warlords, sound off. Tex Grebner of Tex Grebner Outdoors summons you. Make me a video.
If you're curious what I'm having, I am having an appetizer for my cheat meal of sriracha fried shrimp. Absolutely delicious. A meal fit for a warlord with, of course, a Bloody Maria, which is like a Bloody Mary, but mixed with olive juice and tequila, rather than simply tomato juice and vodka. Now this sriracha fried shrimp is excellent. However, it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of ranch on the side. Now down to business. If you are not familiar with the concept of the regional warlords of YouTube, let me give you a history lesson. Years ago, you could post video responses to other YouTubers, and they could either approve or deny them, and they would show up below the video, but above the comments. So anyone wanting to comment on the video would be able to view the video responses, and it helped with networking and exchanging of ideas. And now with Google Plus, that is gone the way of the dodo. Now you see, years ago when we all started this, it was not socially acceptable to be a firearms enthusiast on the internet. You were looked at as some type of domestic terrorist by the general media, which is incredibly untrue, but that was the label that we were given. And so, to an extent, we in what was known as the sewing circle would make jokes about when the world goes to shit, that because we were the only ones that were half-assed prepared for it, that we would end up being the regional warlords that would be controlling our own fiefdoms in the end of the world. Now, of course, it's a very blue joke. and no one wants to see that happen. God knows. But the idea of Tex Grebner or Haas USMC becoming the equivalent of Rick Grimes from Walking Dead or the Governor, hilarious in a very blue-humored type of way. So that is a truncated version of the origin of the regional warlords of YouTube.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's not quite as delicious as you.
I know. Nasty smelling whiskey.
It's real whiskey.
Yeah, it's just it kills my nose. Every time I pour it, I'm like, woo! Yeah, it's like, wow.
My man's man.
Yeah. Well, I guess if I was sick.
If you're curious what I'm having a blackened Cajun porterhouse of 30 ounces, a bulb of garlic, and loaded mashed potatoes with wild turkey on the rocks on the side. A meal fitting a warlord of my caliber. God knows I've earned it if you watched my workout video. This is my reward for a week of hard work chasing down the mammoth. Now, I believe that it is time that we resurrect the regional warlord concept, if for no other reason than simply for fun. Because with popularity being massive, and the fan bases of shows like Game of Thrones, or the fan memes of Skyrim, the game, I think that there is a place for a little bit of role-playing. After all, years ago I was called a role player by a troll. And so, why not? I've always loved role-playing games, and when you break it down to its core, there is very little difference between practicing tactical reloads with an AK versus practicing with foam swords.
The warlords. Internet warlords. Gotta have the garlic.
I know exactly. Well, how's steak today? Did you good? Okay, good.
Did you tell them it was?
Oh, they knew it was one. Well, I remembered.
Because I'm the only one who orders a steak this big, except for like 2 other people.
2 other people, and they'd only come in sometimes, so.
I wouldn't say that I have legendary status as the Dragonborn in this particular restaurant, but I definitely have notoriety from the fact that I routinely, as my cheat meal, put down the 30-ounce porterhouse and sip Wild Turkey 101 on the rocks without a whiskey face. But then again, what would you expect from a warlord such as myself? I refuse to accept mediocrity. I am a thinking man and a lover of fantasy. And to be quite honest with you, it would be accurate to call me a hillbilly version of Christian Grey. However, under my camoed exterior, I am incredibly nerdy. I exist in a fantasy universe inside my head. You'll forgive me for being brutally honest, but as a Thane of Whiterun and a regional warlord of the Midwest, it is my right and privilege to speak freely, so you'll have to forgive me for talking to you nerdy, baby. But I exist in a multiverse and an ether that is Middle-earth, Westeros, Red Dead Redemption, and Skyrim. And to be completely honest with you, I absolutely love Skyrim. It is such a storyline. I have literally gotten into shouting matches before about the Stormcloaks and the Imperials. And you know that it is a good game culture when you can crack jokes about the Thieves Guild. However, if you ever want your ego to be completely slain as a gamer, do what I did, which is I have been playing Skyrim for years, since about 2012, right after it came out in 2011, and I thought that I was pretty good at the game. Now, I would go and I would honestly play the game and get to about level 75 as a Nord. You know why I play as a Nord? Skyrim for the Nords, bro. But I'd get to about level 75, and then I would become romantically attached to the early quests and nostalgic, because it's such an immersive gaming experience. At which point, I would completely restart the entire game. Well, I had done that several times on easy, and then I bought the Legendary Edition, which is where the ego slaying comes in. If you think that you're MLG Skyrim and you've never played on Legendary, you have severely underestimated the NPC of that game. It is a ridiculous grind to level up in Skyrim on Legendary. However, Skyrim does have, as I said, a very immersive storyline and a very devoted fan following. After all, I'm a Thane of Whiterun. What more do I need to say? I do have a dragon-slaying bow, and so, as I have been called a role player, I've taken the title as a mantra, so to speak. And so as I love the idea of roleplay, and I am a thinking nerd, what the hell? I think that I'm going to start incorporating a little bit of Skyrim into my everyday life and into my videos. Because as I stated in my diet and workout video, life imitates art, and art imitates life. The same way that I work out is the same way that you would grind out levels in an RPG. And so because this is the fantasy land that is the internet, where we have factions as vehemently devoted to their side as the Starks and the Lannisters, the Targaryens and the Tyrells, that it could be time for the regional warlords to reappear.
Wild turkey.
Class, I know how you like to pour with a hand.
Right. Hey, sorry.
It's not my fault you want to get me hammered and take me home.
All things in moderation. As I am a regular and a handsome silver-tongued devil, the bar wench tends to try and get me hammered every time that I come in. However, wild turkey on the rocks is not something that should be taken lightly. It has a similar effect of skooma, or blackbriar mead. As you can clearly see, I am polishing off the remains of my steak. And it is, or I should say was, absolutely delicious, especially when washed down with the finest Kentucky bourbon, Wild Turkey. You know, it's not easy being a dragon slayer, but there is a great parallel between being a video game hero and a YouTube personality. I am always honest, I am always truthful, and anyone that knows me knows that the ego that I portray on film is simply because when people show up for a show, you'd better give it to them. And that is why I am your regional warlord of the Midwest. On the topic of weaponry and fantasy, while I do adore Skyrim, I also, in my days, have been a bit of a Ren Fair junkie. And at some point, if I can get my hands on a couple of friends of like mind and sound bodies, a couple of fencing helmets and protective jerkins, which are, of course, fencing jackets, I think that it would be quite interesting to do a series called Tex Grebner's Reckless Fencing. Now, you see, years ago, I and several of my friends were Ren Fair junkies, and we loved rapier fencing. We loved epee, small sword, and so on. I was so good once a long time ago that I was able to do the signature move of the Count of Monte Cristo. If you've seen the movie with Jim Caviezel, you know the scene at the end where he knocks the sword from Count Mondego's hand. I was able to do that with complete repeatability. However, I have since fallen out of my original sword fighting skill, but I do think that it would be quite interesting if I could get a hold of some people in some protective gear to break out the small swords with their triple wide epee blades and do a little bit of reckless fencing. We used to joke about how we knew enough about sword play that we could potentially survive long enough to get the time machine repaired if we ever ended up back in the Renaissance or the Middle Ages. However, we shall see if that ever comes to fruition. But it does have a nice ring to it. Reckless fencing with Tex Grebner. It would of course be only for fun, and we would definitely need some high safety precautions. But here you see me finishing my whiskey and working my way to my last bite. Who knows, maybe someday you might run into me down in the Ragged Flagon or over at the Winking Skeever, or maybe in the Bannered Mare or the Drunken Huntsman of all places. But in the meantime, until you see me again, watch the skies, traveler.
Well, Sash, last bite.
Yeah. How was that? You want to do the rest of the day or?
No, it was very good.
Good. You're the dancing. And you didn't get anything on A. Oh, I smelled it.
Damn it.
That's my fault.
Can't take me anywhere.
That's my fault.
Here it is.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming out to dinner. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Still got some mashed potatoes left, but I'll spare you watching me eat. As always, hit us on my sports on the internet. Rights. You got my friends on illegally.org. Thank you very much to those involved in law enforcement, those of you serving in the military. Thanks for watching Texas Grebner Outdoors. You've just been to dinner with a warlord.